Grand Rising. Grand Rising. Um, Came up in conversation um, yesterday about some of the more bizarre things that we have experienced in our physical reality. Um, the things that are miraculous or fantastic, unexplainable, unidentified, and you know, one could look at me if I was to express, and I'm about to at least touch on some of them. Um, Came up in conversation certain aspects of um, our atmosphere. They were, the sun looks weird. The sun doesn't look like the sun anymore. And the position was, well, you remember when you were a kid, the sun looked yellow? Um, and now it would seem that the sun is white, like a light bulb, more like a light bulb rather than a burning star in our atmosphere, or in space. Um, that was one of them. That was one of them. And I've personally noticed, like, yeah, it's like, it's weird, man. It's weird. Um, Strangely enough, it came up. Somebody else brought up the topic. I was in a chat, and a live chat, and we were that. This is where this started from. And somebody posed the question. Has anybody noticed anything in their physical reality that seemed out of place, bizarre, fantastic, miraculous, unidentifiable? And the last full moon, the last full moon. Now, I need to, I want to preface this. Um, you know, I'm sober, and that's not something fucking miraculous, but I'm sober. I am clear-minded. I'm not. And when I say sober, I mean clean and sober. No drugs, no mind or mood altering substances in my body. Um, Going back last month, last full moon, um, typically I wake somewhere for work on a work day. I wake somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 a.m. in the morning, and I had company, and we both had to get ready for work at the same time. Or I'm sorry, I had to get ready for work. They had to get ready to start their day. I was giving them a ride somewhere, and so 4 o'clock rolls around. I get up, they get up. We're heading outside to the car, and we look up. I looked up, and yep, hey, full moon. Whoa, dude, that's cool. And initially, it didn't occur to me, but I was looking in an easterly direction. I was looking. I live about, as the crow flies, I live roughly mile and a half, 2 miles from the ocean. I know which way. I've lived in my house in that particular place for a little over 5 years. I know north, south, east, west in my house, from my home. And the full moon at 4 a.m., 4:30, in that general area was still in the eastern sky. Made no sense. No sense. And I was scratching my head, and I pointed out to the person that I was with. I'm like, that's east. That's east. It's 4:30 or whatever time it was. It's 4:30 in the morning. The moon should be somewhere over in a westerly direction. Uh, Now, bizarre, because the following day, I woke up again to go to work, and the partial full moon was at roughly 4:30 a.m. in the westerly sky. Excuse me, that went out. So there's the moon. Within the last, here's another one. The last 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is, something that I've seen that is very bizarre is the entire population of the world wearing masks. This may be a very unpopular idea or suggestion, but for as long as I can remember and into history, flus, diseases have always existed. Yes, there has been evidence of pandemics, the Black Plague, etc. I, in my own experience, in my own life, know no one, or, I mean, with the numbers that they project, I don't know anyone in my personal awareness that has come down with COVID. I don't know anybody. Yet the entire world is running around with a mask on. That's fucking bizarre, man. That is bizarre. Excuse my language. It's something that I'm slowly working on. I'm becoming a lot more aware of my language. Flus, diseases, these things have always been around. And every year there's a different strain of flu. And they suggest that you have the vaccine, which the jury is out on. I'm very much against things like that um, for a number of reasons. It's bizarre to see a government and those that would be in charge um, try to. It's my feeling. It's my sense. It's more. It's in my reality too that I'm not the only one thinking, scratching my head, going, "There's something really not okay with what's going on. There is something sketchy." Um, it's my opinion that this is just another flu. This is this year's flu, and they've taken this and put a spin on it for an end purpose. That is bizarre. Some other things. Kind of going backwards in my life in the last couple of years, and we'll see how far we go. Um, so this would have been last summer. I worked in heavy equipment, construction, excavation, etc. I spent a lot of time outside, a lot of time. And on more than one occasion, one, two, three specific occasions, um, I witnessed an object. On all three occasions, it was one object, but it was it was the same object on three different occasions. Three different places, three different occasions, same object. I would describe it as a um, silver, silver chrome, appearingly seamless, uh, fat cigar tube shaped. I didn't see any engine on, there was no discernible front or back, forward or reverse. And in all three occasions, I mean, this thing was fast. There was only one of the occasions that I had anything to have where I would have some scale to tell the size of the object. There was on one occasion an airplane in close proximity, and gauging the distance of the object and gauging the distance of the plane, and sure, the plane looked like a 747. I've been on a plane, so I know how big. This was at least as big as the airplane, if not bigger. My feeling or my sense about it was that it was considerably bigger, perhaps twice the size of a 747 in girth and length. And again, it was a fat, girthy, cigar tubed shaped chrome seamless object, and I mean this thing was fast, fast, darting all over the sky, and as quickly as it appeared, literally in the blink of an eye, it was gone. Um, bizarre, bizarre, unidentified flying object. Um, my experience that I had in November of 2018. Again, I was stone cold sober, man, stone cold sober, and after a period of some deep self-reflection and asking questions like, "What's it all for?" Um, After a moment of meditation, a moment, and meditation can be 3 seconds, but after some time of meditation, I was in the shower and I had prostrated myself, prostrate. Anyway, and I had stood up in the shower and stepped out of the shower, and I was asking a lot of questions of the universe. And I had, and I mean, the word epiphany right now is coming into my awareness, but this is it was well beyond an epiphany. It was a physical, emotional, spiritual, fulfilling experience where I would describe a peace, a wholeness, an energy, what I would describe as a divinely feminine energy entering my body from the top of my head out through the tips of my toes, and remaining there for I again I the whole time thing was vague, but I had that experience long enough where I'm like, even in the experience, I'm like, wow, what is that wow? Um, and a sense of reunion, as one might hear or have read in some Christian text, i.e., the Bible. Um, I'm not Jesus. I'm not. I'm my own savior. Other bizarre experiences. Let's move on. Um, Bizarre, unexplainable. I know what that experience felt like, and it was just fantastic. It was such a loving, warm, feminine, nurturing reunion that I felt within myself. Um, Moving onward, you have to just there's I'm on a hill right outside of work, and it's a great place. All the joggers, all the runners, they love this hill. Most of them end up there. They do their last sprint up this very steep hill. So please pardon me. Um, Going back quite a few more years, I've had other experiences, but the ones that are popping out now, this experience, I was under the influence. I did a fair amount of drinking. Um, I did a fair amount of drinking, and this was around high school time. Senior, I had a car, so I was probably a senior in high school. Um, and I had been drinking. I was driving, and there was a car dealership. And as I was driving by, or as I was approaching it, like there was something on top of the building. I'd driven by this place. This was a common route for me, and I saw something that was like, it was massive. It was massive. Um, a huge car dealership. The building, um, it was at least the size of the building, and it overlapped the building, hovering above the top of the building, and it was flat black. Now, and it had, from what I remember, it was red, blue, and white, white, yellow lights on it. Um, they weren't flashing; they were constant. It was disc shaped, um, and I would have to say a minimum of probably 6 feet thick. Um, Based on the size of the building and what have you. Now, to yes, I was under the influence of alcohol, and two, I lived in very close proximity to an Air Force base. Is it possible that that was an experimental aircraft? Is it possible the fact that it was over a car dealership? Now, we've all seen, certain car dealerships where they might have balloons floating above their car dealership to announce a sale, or a bouncy house. You know what I'm talking about? Advertisement. However, the feeling and sense that I got as I approached, and I was literally across the street looking at this, slowing down, but in the same breath, it was scaring the shit out of me. So I kept going, and as I was driving by, I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And it was my gut feeling, my fear, and I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Bizarre experience. Um, and then going back to um, my childhood, and this would have been pre 10 years old. This would have been so my father died when I was 9, so this would have been even pre 9 years old. Um, because I remember when I there was a constant throughout my childhood. Now, one would say, okay, he's a child and he has an imagination. Yes, I did. I had a very active imagination. But some of the things that I imagined, shall we say, were less in the mind and more in my physical reality. Um, and throughout my childhood, I had, and they were described as my imaginary friends. I had two, um, and they were so named as Mac and Joe. I didn't. I took those names on. Yeah, I'm playing with Mac and Joe. Well, Scott, time for dinner. I'll be in a minute with Mac and Joe. Whatever. But in my physical awareness, these were not imaginary friends that I might put an effigy to. A persona, shall we say, or an image of another, two other people. These quote unquote imaginary friends were two golden orbs. And in my awareness, they were roughly, I would have to say, you know, um, goodness, like bigger than a grapefruit. But these two golden orbs were constantly with me, and I had conversations with them, and I played with them, talked with them. They talked back, um, or not talked in what I would refer to as a voice, but talked to me, responded to me through my what I can only describe as a psychic, where our thoughts were being transferred. Interesting things. Also, in more recent days, I had mentioned this in one of my other videos, having a what I can only define or describe as a uh, past life memory, as I was driving through a neighborhood and seeing in a flash, it just like kind of came to me where I had a memory or sense that I was a shall we say, an Egyptian slave driver. um, you know the, and I was driving through the slave quarter in a chariot. and viewing the slave quarter, making my presence known, and bizarre experience. This experience, I actually felt the need to like pull over and go, "What the hell was that?" It was so um, it was so real, um, as it were. I'd be very curious, and I'm going to leave my email address, so to respect our own anonymity. But I'm at that point where I'm like, you want to think I'm crazy. Yeah, you resonate great. I'd be very interested. I truly would. I would love to hear your experiences, and I'm going to leave my email for anonymity purposes. Um, and I would love to hear about your experiences. Um, similar, different, um, all of the above, whatever it is to you. And with that, Grand Rising, um, more people. Um, cool little dog, terrier. Cool little dog. Sorry, very distracting, but it's a nice way to start my day. Just sitting here having a chat with you guys and ladies, divine beings, and I would love to hear your experiences. Please feel free to share. You know, I am truly interested. And with that, I will wish you a peace and a peace that surpasses all understanding. And have a wonderful day. Peace. I'm out.